Alrighty, good morning everybody. Happy Friday. It's June 23rd and we're going to do our pre-market here today. What I'd like to do first, like I do nearly every morning, is go back and take a look at what happened in the market yesterday based off of the levels we're watching and some of the biases we had, etc., etc. And so remember when we came in, we talked about seeing it was the first morning that we started to get some clues for a bullish divergence on the daily, right? If we go up to our daily chart, let's just look at this quickly here. We saw a really nice potential bullish divergence pattern forming from the low of yesterday. And then we said, hey, look, the hourly had a really nice hourly signal from the low of the day of the overnight session there. And then the 4-hour, maybe not a nice RVI divergence, but we definitely had a very textbook stochastic divergence from that overnight low as well. So we basically had some clues that the bulls might, try to push things higher. And we talked about how things still looked heavy. So when we came into the open yesterday, we were pulling back and we had the counter bearish signal. It almost looked like we were going to come down and break the overnight low and continue to push lower. So we had some conditions. We said that there were some good bullish signals, especially the daily finally showing a bullish signal after the last 3 or 4 days of the sell-off. And so if we could hold the overnight low, which was down here 43.93-ish, then we were expecting an attempt by the bulls to break out to the upside. And if they could break out to the upside, we had our levels that would potentially be trouble on the way back up, right? And then if the bears were strong enough to go ahead and push back through the overnight low, and it wasn't just going to peak below and then bounce back out, but it was actually going to kind of get through that overnight low and start to come lower, then we were going to target potential areas down below for support. Again, being short into these areas of potential support where it could rotate. And what happened yesterday? Let's take a look. We'll go down now to our 512 so we can see all the details here. And basically for 15 minutes, the market, and I actually tried to short right off of the holy orange power level, and it kept testing and pulling back, testing, pulling back. Never got to my 5-point target. I closed it out. But basically what happened was we chopped around and held the holy orange power level and the VWAP, and then right around about 15, 16, 17 minutes after the open, look what happened. We popped out, pulled back, and then held the FMA, the VWAP, the holy orange power level there, and then that was it. We got this really nice, the beginning of the breakout. And I think one of the sexiest things that happened here, well, there's actually the sexiest thing that happened, but this is one of them. We break out, we get through the low of the day before, pull back and hold it, and then on the pullback come right back to, and I talked about this in the pre-market. I said there's a possibility we could pop out from here and then pull back and then bounce out. Like if you watch the recording, we talked about this exact pattern right here. Break out through the low of the day before, pull back, and then hold it and bounce out. And that was a trade that if you took that pullback, had 0 ticks of risk, didn't even break the level by one measly little tick, and then continued to pop. Okay, so that was another 15-point bounce from there. Now, one of the sexiest things to happen, and this we see day in, day out. I'm not going to say it happens every day, but we saw it happen at least a day or two this week so far, and now we see it here yesterday on Thursday. We break out, get appreciably away from the holy orange power level, and then the market comes all the way back and breaks it by one tick and reverses. So again, if you missed that one, well look, we got a beautiful opportunity to try the holy orange power level there. Again, about 20-point bounce off or so. Yeah, if you held on to it, it went more than 20 points to the upside there. And yeah, I mean, not every test of our levels worked here, but just some unbelievable holds. And then I think another really interesting thing here is we had this as our resistance spot up above the current market price when the market opened down here. It was our scaffolding level at 16.25. Well, what happened? The market broke out and then rejected right off the scaffolding twice here, pulled back, held the holy orange power level nearly to the tick, and then came up and rejected off of the scaffolding again, pulled back, and it would have been nice for it to come right to the VWAP there and rotate, but they had to come back to the low the day before again, break it by 1 point, and then come all the way back up. And notice where we came up to and pulled back, the 50% of the previous day. And it tested 50% of the previous day going into the end of the day there. And then right at the end of the day, kind of got up through it, pulled back, and then we bounced, notice, right off the 200 and right off that 50% area. And then that was basically it. I think it got one last little hurrah there from 44.20 to 26 or 27 for a nice 7-point bounce right at the end of the day. If you were looking for a trade, there's that textbook pullback to the 200 for a 7-point bounce on the last, say, 20 minutes, half hour, whatever. So some awesome stuff yesterday. And that brings us here into this morning. And notice what's been happening here in the overnight session. We pushed up, and let me get my tracker here. We pushed up right to the close of the day before here, and then it started selling off. Got through 50% of the previous day, held the back end of it, and then started coming up and right into VWAP in the 200 here for the rejection. Had trouble here right around where the Holy Orange power level eventually printed. Remember this level, and let me just make it clear for anyone who uses this, that orange line doesn't print until 3 a.m. Pacific, 6 a.m. Eastern. So it wasn't there for the first couple hours of the overnight session there. And then right around 3 a.m., bam, that's when it printed right there. So don't get too confused. From 3 a.m. back, there was no Holy Orange power level. And then 3 a.m. hit somewhere over here. Yeah, right there. Sorry, I was covering it right there. And then it was on the chart ever since. But nice hold from VWAP 2 times. In fact, you had that nice confluence of the 2 moving averages there. And now here we are in the pre-market, kind of petering out right around the next structure zone or the scaffolding level. So let's do our higher time frame analysis, take a look at what the charts are saying up there, and get set here to finish the week out. Hopefully you guys can get some decent trades off to finish the week. So let's go ahead and pull up the higher time frame charts. Jerry, I think I saw your message. It looks like moving to this other monitor, which has less resolution, might be what we have to do here for our pre-markets. So let me go up to my main chat. Yeah, so Jerry's saying it's a better screen. Hopefully for everybody else as well, you can see the numbers a little bit more clearly. And if this is not good enough, I have one other solution. So just let me know. Hopefully this is good enough. If not, I've got a final solution to see if we can to address the problem. So let's look up at our daily now. We're at the end of the week here, so I kind of interested to see how our weekly's looking. And as you can see, we started to pop out and hold above 50% of last week. And then in the last day or two, or I guess the last few days, we've really sold off and gotten down through 50% of last week. And now we're traveling right back down to the lows of last week. So, you know, not looking too strong at the moment. Of course, you never know when the market's going to just rotate and blow everyone's faces off. But yeah, looking a little weak right now. Now on the daily, remember yesterday, we started to see the potential bullish signal. We saw the hourly bullish signal from the overnight low. We saw that stochastic bullish pattern from the overnight low. So everything looked like we should get a push. And remember, we did get a pop. It's just, unfortunately, yesterday, the bears came right back in, right? So we got probably the biggest rotation ever since Friday's sell-off. And that's, you know, all the signals we had hinted at that type of pop. But there still just wasn't enough strength. So we popped up. And again, where did we come into? Basically, 50% of the previous day. And so we got a nice 50% retrace of the day before off of all those bullish signals. But then bears came right back in. There's that bearish signal on the 60-minute from the high of yesterday. And now here we are breaking the low of yesterday. So it was a very short-lived rally. And now here we are finding support at the moment right around our next scaffolding area. So going back up here to the daily, I guess that's it, right? So we got the pop. The bears rejected it, and now we're pushing to lower lows. And as we push to lower lows, at this point, and this is what makes anticipating a divergence much more difficult, is that we are now in the type of territory where as the market pulls back, until the market breaks this previous low back from June 8th, we could make a bullish argument, right? So now it's kind of like, it's in almost like an iteration where now it's like, okay, this one, and then if we continue to push lower, we're going to still have an argument. And so this would have been nice if we just rotated yesterday and we got the breakout and got through the high of the day before there. But unfortunately, again, the market seems to be a little bit heavy and the bears are strong now. So now they're breaking that. And so all we can say is from the daily perspective, from the signal perspective, we are seeing divergence from the lows. And this is where we're going to have to try to time things and really find where that support's going to be for the rotation, because when we start to get an alignment again on these signals, that might be where it is. But again, it's tough to really perfectly time the rotation. We're just starting to get clues for the rotation to occur. And that might not be for another 20, 30, 40, 50 points lower. I can't, it's hard to say. So that's what we're seeing here on the daily. We have an argument for a potential bullish signal from the lows, but it's not a closed signal yet. So, and obviously all the price action from yesterday looks or from the overnight session looks very heavy, right? We tested basically the high of the day before in the overnight session there, and then we sold off and broke through all of yesterday's price action. So what we have essentially right now is a bearish engulfing candle on today's candle, which is not a great sign. But here's the thing. We have all day for this candle to develop. So that's a lot of time for the market to do something that, we're not expecting. So it very well, if some type of bullish move starts to happen, this could go from a bearish engulfing candle to a bullish engulfing candle by the time today closes and we finish the week out. So this is the tough thing about trading, is we don't know what's going to happen next. We have good levels. We typically have signals that will give us moves, but there's no guarantee there's going to be follow through, especially when the market is a little bit more weighted one side or the other. So that's what we got up here. I'm going to continue to monitor the daily like I do every day. And again, if we get some type of bullish rally, which again, we have signals indicating it's a potential right now, this could go from a bearish engulfing candle to a nice bullish engulfing candle. And again, it's just one scenario that could potentially happen here. So let's look from the lows. We've got daily potential bullish signals. There's also arguably a potential 4-hour bullish signal from this low as well. Again, being that it's super heavy, what we're going to want to see, and actually let me go to the hourly first as well before I say that. And the hourly is also giving us some decent potential bullish signals at the moment from the overnight low. So we basically have a line in the sand here, kind of like yesterday. If the bulls end up holding the overnight low, which, like I said, it does still look pretty heavy, but I'm not, going to make a call here that it's 100% going to continue to break lower because it looks heavy. What we need to see here is a push up through basically these highs from the overnight session over here. Not the all-time high from the overnight session, but back over in this area. So until that happens, we can't really have too much confidence in this signal. So what we have is basically a line in the sand. We've got the lows of the overnight session. Again, it's just like yesterday. If we end up holding these overnight lows, what pattern is this going to form on our hourly chart? We've got push lower in price. We've got to push higher on RVI. We've also got to push higher on the stochastics as well, bolstering that. And so if it does rotate, well, what are we going to see? Probably going to see this come up. And then there you go. You've got your higher low on your RVI and on your stochastic. You've got a lower low on price. That right there is a typical reversal pattern for a push higher. All right. So it's always tough to be a bull when everything's selling off and it's bearish. And that's what makes trading really tough. So just be aware of this potential pattern that could form here. It also could just be the fact that this continues to travel lower on RVI and does whatever it's going to do, and then eventually maybe we'll get the close of the pattern. But again, we're anticipating things, and it's very, very hard to really know 100% what the market's going to do. So for now, we've got that potential signal there. Again, the 4-hour, same thing. In fact, it's a stochastic and an RVI potential signal for the bulls right now from these lows. Again, we're going to have to watch this, and until price, the first real sign is going to be, well, we could go to a shorter time frame, and I think my 512 is up here. One of the first signs that we are going to see this rotation is price is going to get up through the 200, the VWAP, and the holy orange power level. That would be kind of what we would want to see for that, the first sign that something is potentially going to get a bigger rotation. So keep that in mind this morning. Go back to my higher time frame charts, and let's look at levels that are above current market price if we do get a bounce. And remember, it doesn't have to just bounce from the overnight low. We could come down to a deeper level or do a little peak below and then come back up. So it could come down to a deeper level and bounce back up. It could just peak below the overnight low and bounce back up. And if we do eventually get a bounce back up, we've got to look at the levels that are above current market price. So we've got obviously the low of yesterday. We've already pushed below it. That's our first bearish clue this morning, is that we're now getting through the previous daily lows right now. So that's going to be the first line in the sand. Then we're going to be coming up to test into the holy orange power level. Again, I don't need to explain why we would want to be aware of that level. And then it's up to 50% of yesterday. So, the more levels we're able to breach and hold above, the more the case for the bulls will get stronger. And that's just how it is. And if we do get some type of rotation like this, then the patterns, like I said, should complete on the 4-hour, on the hourly, and then maybe that will be the beginning of the completion of the daily signal as well. If that doesn't happen, well, there's a lot of room below us here, and there are some really, really good discrete areas that make sense for potential support if we do get down here. So let's look at those levels. They haven't changed all week because let's just zoom out real quick here. All week we're still within all the same stuff here, the same retracement patterns because we didn't get to new highs, the same potential supports down here because these are all still naked swings and naked, and still market scaffolding that haven't been tested. So, that's what we're looking at. So everything down below us is the same. We've got the retracements that we talked about, 43.78. We've got the pocket, 43.67 to 69-ish there. You should have the actual levels to the tick on your charts already because we've been mentioning them all week long. We've got the other scaffolding around 60 there. We've got the other pocket from about 46 to 48.5. And a little bit further from that, we've got, again, scaffolding around 31.75. Another swing in the top end of a structure zone around 43.22.5. And then down to 43.08 quarter and 42.87. So 42.87 will bring us another 100 points lower. And then again, from there, we've got the same 3 market scaffolding levels below that. That'll bring us another 150 points lower. And, anything's possible. We could push 300 points lower today, but I think that covers enough of the range below us for those potential rotation spots, okay, or bounces. On the other side of things, if the market does follow through here for the bulls, and we're not saying that there's a strong case, we're just saying that if we get that occurrence, that rotation to happen, we've got the perfect signals that could close and bolster that move. So if we do bounce at some point, and it doesn't have to be just from the overnight low, we talked about the first couple levels here, up to 50% of the previous day, and then it's going to be up to The scaffolding again, 16 quarter. It's been a really amazing level throughout all this. It's going to be up there. And then the close of the day before and the high of the day before. And I don't know how many times we see the market come up right to the close of the day before and it rotates back off. So even if we do break out through all these levels, this is also going to be very important right here. Now, the retracements back up. When we zoom out, we look at the whole sell-off from Friday's high all the way down to whatever low we get here today. Our retracements are going to shift. So we've had retracements yesterday, and I actually didn't get a chance to update this here. But since we just pushed to a new low, I guess as I was doing my pre-market, if we pushed to these new lows, or when I was reviewing things before the pre-market. So basically, the major retracements we were watching back to the upside are done. I'm going to move that to 3 a.m. because those are done. In fact, we never really came up to test any of them. And they're done with, so I'm just going to get rid of them. And now today, we're going to have to consider the new potential leg here from the, again, 93.75, Friday's high, last week's high, down to whatever low we make this morning. So if the market pushes lower, we've got to redraw this fib. If we hold the overnight low and we don't move anywhere, or if we don't push to a new low here this morning and the market does rotate back up, this is the fib we're looking at. And I do like the fact right now that the 38 happens to be exactly that pocket right there I told you could be trouble. The close of the day before and the high of the day before there. Let me go ahead and make this a graded shaded box. And then the 61.8 is the scaffolding level that has worked amazingly. So that leaves us basically the only level we really have to mark here is the 50% at about 44.40. Let me just make sure the levels are 93.75 and the overnight low was what, 85.75? Is that what that is? Oh, 86.5, really? Doesn't look like it. Okay. So yeah, so the 50% is right there, basically 44.40 quarter. Now, here's the thing. If it pushes lower, you're going to have to shift these levels. But for now, 44.40 quarter is the 50% retrace. Template, load, fib line, bam. Okay? So that gives us a couple levels above us here this morning that could be trouble. And then again, it's just going to be the other market scaffolding levels that we mentioned in previous pre-markets up top. Okay, so that's that. And then finally here, we've got a minute and a half until the market opens. We've got our 512 chart with the remaining levels that we watch. And that would be the 200 and VWAP. So like I said this morning, and actually we're pushing to lower lows now. So we're going to have to redraw that fib eventually. Whenever we get the actual low and it rotates back up, that's when we'll have to redraw that fib in. So this is probably going to shift. But coming into the open here, we've got, again, a minute maybe until the market opens. We've got two additional trouble spots for the bulls if there's going to be this rotation back up this morning. And that will be our 200 and our VWAP. And they're dynamic, right? They're constantly changing with price. So hopefully you have those on your chart just in case we do get the pop. So first thing this morning for that bullish potential case is getting through the low of the day before, getting through the 200 and getting up through the VWAP. And then once they can get through there, and maybe they'll even get through it and pull back and hold it, we want to get through the holy orange power level. We want to get through 50% of the day before, which is also a scaffolding level, I think, to the tick there. Let me actually look here. 44.10 quarter. Let's go back. Yeah. Oh, no. It's one of those retracements we've been watching. Okay. I see. So that's the next step, is to get through 50%. And then it's going to be up to the other levels we mentioned. Okay. So that's where we're at here. I'm going to move the broadcast over to the larger screen now so that you guys can see all three charts. So have a great day. Happy trading, and I will shift over to the other screen now. Take care. Bye-bye.